Apple leaks their new event, and we have some surprising news.
Welcome to the All Future Podcast, where we talk all things tech, AI, humanoid robots, and Apple throughout the week. And today we're definitely diving into that one. Apple talking about their next event coming up here.
I know, we have
And
a classic Apple episode going on here.
we actually, we have some cool products here. We have watches, we have foldables. I think there's a couple different watches, and there's iOS 19 stuff, which a lot of this we should get announced come WWDC, which now is officially confirmed for June 9th.
Boom.
Now, if you're familiar, that's the Worldwide Developers Conference, which means it's a whole week-long event, but they always have the keynote on the first. It's like the opener of the thing. And part of the event is always to like show developers specifically what they're working on. So it's like exciting because we're like, oh, here's all the latest software. But a lot of times it's like so that we're showing you now so we can give developers the developer beta so they can develop their software for it. So we'll probably see the latest version of iOS 19, Mac OS, whatever they're on,
Vision 3.
Apple Vision 3,
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And also the melding of all of that together, because we're starting to see that more and more to the point where we're talking about these foldables that Apple might make in this giant foldable. And there's mixed rumors as to whether it's an iPad or whether it's a laptop. And I think they're just moving further and further to blur those lines to where the software is seamless between all of them. You understand how all of it works. And then, you don't even really know what the product is considered because it's just does what you need it to do, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think the elephant in the room here is that last year's WWDC, they made a lot of promises. And at this point, they've kept, like, let's say 80% of those promises and given those features to us, like Genmoji or other AI features, like, sorting of mail or things like that. And features that didn't end up being super usable. Like, I don't use mail sorting. I think it gets in the way sometimes. I loved Genmoji for about 2 weeks. Like, I love every Apple feature like that. And then Image Playground, like, I haven't opened that app since it came out.
Yeah, same.
I do like.
I got a new computer, and then it's like one of the initial prompts, like turn on Image Playground. It's like, okay. The one time I'm gonna open this.
I did get a new app that I feel like I will use as an adult that I don't think matters to anyone, but it's the Invites app.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, this is cool that it's actually like built in and integrated, that you can almost just use it as a calendar invite, but like it just looks better. Best idea that Apple has had and delivered within the past year.
Have you used it yet?
I have. I'm using it for my I guess I could talk about it on here, but for my gender reveal party, I'm going to have a baby.
Congratulations, Andrew.
You knew that.
I knew that, but I gotta, gotta play it up gotta be genuine on the podcast. I already do that, but you're gonna make sure it's an explosive gender reveal.
Oh, very explosive.
Some sort of start a California wildfire with it.
Yeah, if it doesn't start a wildfire, did you even have a gender reveal?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. No. Fireworks and.
I was going to make another joke, too, about the Invites app, but now I'm just derailing us. I was going to say, is there a way for you to, it to seem inferior that you don't have an iPhone if you get invited?
I hope so. Is there, the green bubble version where you get, almost the invite from, Windows 95 that has, all Comic Sans and, all this bad clip art and stuff like that? Yeah. Oh, we're sold.
You have to text a number in order to say that you're RSVPing instead of just tapping or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, please call this number and make an appointment.
Yeah, it feels like that's what Apple would do. But in any case, the expected announcements for WWDC are those that I talked about, as well as tvOS, and then Mac Studio, which I'm like, wait a second, new Mac Studio? Didn't we
just got new Mac Studios. They wouldn't be, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, it's a couple months away, so my new Mac Studio will, it's going to be outdated within a year, no matter what. I accepted that when I purchased it. You accept that when you purchase any Apple product, but especially an expensive one. But yeah, what you were saying is true. This is the first one where it's like, okay, you showed us a bunch of stuff last year. A lot of it isn't here.
Yeah, and they made
So,
the promises that it would be here within the year. Like even late now,
mhm,
they didn't say like it was supposed to be, Q1 2025. It's supposed to be late. We knew it was going to be late, but we didn't know it was not going to be here.
mhm,
And then the Apple Intelligence, it wouldn't be such a big deal if Apple Intelligence wasn't on every commercial they used to sell iPhones.
yeah,
And what is Apple Intelligence? Like they're not even being clear as to like it's a set of AI features. Like what is it? Like and I never liked the branding to begin with because it's not clear. When they come out with new features, like Genmoji is very clear. This is what this thing is and this is what this thing does. But Apple Intelligence is like, what? Like what do you mean Apple Intelligence?
mhm,
Are you going to add an LLM? Are you going to And then what they showed us as a feature is like your phone will contextually understand everything in the phone and you can make these crazy search requests like the example they had was what time does my mom's flight land tomorrow?
mhm,
And that would be an amazing thing that you can ask Siri, right?
yeah,
Like it can go into your email, it can know who your mom is because it has your contacts,
mhm.
and it can retrieve all that information and give it back to you in a timely manner. And I'm saying it, and I'm like, that's impossible. How how would you do that? Because like an on-device LLM, like even an on-device LLM would have a problem with that because now you're like working with mini models, and you would need like much more RAM on the phone to even do a mini model or something like that. So
Yeah,
this is all ridiculous as Apple promised it. Like who's promising this?
mhm,
You would have to send those requests out to the cloud, and if you wanted to be the like super privacy centered like Apple wanted them to be, then it would take longer. It would
mhm.
take way longer. There's no way. I'm getting so fired up talking about this. There's no way that that was ever going to work. That was such a faulty promise. And even though we have like Google Gemini attached to the exact same things, you can have contacts in Google contacts. You have your Gmail in Google. Like all these things are also attached to
Mhm.
Google, right? You still can't do that very well.
Yeah,
You have Gemini attached to those things. You make those requests, and it's just not smart enough to figure it out yet.
yeah,
Um, but so why did they? I don't know. They needed to throw something out. It's a big gamble for Apple. It's one
mhm.
of the bigger gambles we've seen them take in recent history.
Yeah, I mean, the Apple Vision was a pretty big gamble, I think. And we're seeing that sales have been steeply dropping off there. It definitely doesn't appear to have done what they thought. And even people like myself and you who were early adopters and really give it a chance, even regularly give it a chance with all the new content and stuff, it's still like, okay, yeah, I kind of have to like remember to use it at times. I will say, I mean, the spatial video is amazing. I think in the future that's going to be something that I'm very happy that I have spatial video filmed of things because it's a way to remember something that you just can't know until you really experience it in the Apple Vision. But it's still $3,500. So that gamble was pretty big. This Apple Intelligence gamble was pretty big, but also wasn't even really related because it took them a while to even deliver any of these features to the Apple Vision itself. Then supposedly there might be an M5 Apple Vision. But now the next gamble from them is one that I guess maybe it's less of a gamble because people already make these devices, but it's just Apple trying to make every possible device, and that is a foldable. So the iPhone foldable is rumored to have a 4:3 aspect ratio, kind of like the iPad once it unfolds, and that is coming from a Chinese leaker. So I think it's this kind of thing, but it would actually, they already oriented this differently, right? Wouldn't it fold out book style?
Yeah, book style. That's not correct. Even though
Yeah.
that looks like what an iPad is, I think that's more of the reference to an iPad. These are all AI generated images. By the way, I know because it was my job to make them for many years. So it's an AI generated image that someone doctored to be a little nicer looking.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that being said, I think you're gonna get a little less like thickness, not thickness that way, but like I don't know, this way.
Width?
Yeah, width.
Width on
Thank
each
you, width.
iPhone side unfolded?
Yeah.
Or folded. Yeah.
And it would be a little skinnier to use with the phone. Don't have confirmation that we're gonna have like a third screen. I would imagine you'd have to, right? Like, to have your third screen to use it as a phone. So it would be not trifold, but like you would have one screen to use as it's folded, and then you open it up and it's the tablet.
Mm-hmm.
And so This could be really cool. You're going to run into all the issues that you run into with other things, like the hinge is going to be an issue, the
Hmm.
battery life might be an issue because you're now, powering more pixels.
Yeah,
This thing's going to
and
be bigger in your
multiple
pocket.
screens, it seems.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be a 5.5-inch outer screen and an inner folding 7.8-inch screen. And this is coming from reputable analysts, but they're also describing the inner screen as crease free. So I think that's really the reason we've been hearing these rumors for like a decade, is because Apple wanted to solve that specifically. They didn't want it to feel cheap and hinge and feel like it's going to break, which a lot of them do. You're kind of like, ooh, okay, I'm unfolding
Yeah.
this. Ooh, I wonder how long it's going to hold up. Obviously, they need it to hold up. And I'm sure they have tons of robots just doing this all day right now with all of the foldables that they're playing with. But yeah, multiple screens to power, an outer and an inner. Even that 5.5 seems kind of big, so I'm trying to picture. Is it just on one of the fold sides so that you hold it like that? Very curious because the foldable has a lot of cool use cases, but it has a lot of things that Apple doesn't like being bulky and thick, and then multiple different interfaces, and like some things have to adapt and maybe don't adapt in the best way. It's a really big challenge, I think, but they're definitely wanting to take it on because I assume they can charge like $2,500 for this thing.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem with this. That's what we see with the Pixel Fold or the Samsung Folds that are out now. They're expensive. That do they provide like, you can argue that they're, okay, is this two devices in one so you don't have to buy an iPad? And the answer is no, it's not.
Hmm.
I'll say that until the cows come home. Like you can use it as two things. And I love my big phones, but it's not worth the same amount as using two devices. This isn't going to be as nearly as big as an iPad. And you could buy, let's say this thing is like $1,500 to $2,000. You could buy an iPhone and an iPad for that amount of money. So
Hmm.
like, is that really worth it? Like you can have both of those devices.
Yeah. It's, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that because there's a value to having it all in one package, but there's a value to having things separate as well. And if it's the same cost for two different things, and that means I can have this screen over there and this screen over there running different things, uh, that might be better in a lot of cases, which is what a lot of people do right now. But I guess there's some people that are like, man, if I could just have these two things integrated into one and could carry it everywhere, that would be great. But one funny thing I saw in this article is that they're saying they're trying to position it as a true AI driven phone with the larger screens allowing for a better multitasking AI experience. And it just still feels like who is this designed for at this point? Like, I don't know that many people that are like in the normal iPhone market, the general, that are like looking for a multitasking AI experience at this point.
I don't even know what a multitasking AI experience is.
Uh-huh.
We use AI every single day, and I don't know what you mean. Like, am I going to generate an image and put in a request to Chat GPT and do something else? Like,
Mm-hmm.
AI agents aren't here yet. And then when AI agents are built, they'll like theoretically just look a lot like applications. Like you put an
Yeah.
input on one end and it's going to come out with something on the other end. And so
And
I don't
isn't
know.
isn't the point that I'm not multitasking?
Yes.
You know? So
What does that mean?
yeah.
And then, okay, like the price tag on there is $2,000 to $2,500. So theoretically, you'd be thinking that they're going to bulk this thing up with a ton of RAM and a ton of processing power. In that case as well, you're going to have huge battery life issues.
Mm-hmm.
As you start adding more of those things, it takes more electricity to do all of that. And so, yeah, there's just a ton here that like you're going to have this weird all-in-one device. Who's it for? Like I have bought a Pro phone, almost every year in every generation for the past 5, 6 years. I like the cameras. I like the big screen, so I go for the bigger model. I would definitely not buy this thing. I would rather buy an iPad and
Mm-hmm.
this. And I don't know, like it's already very bulky in my pocket. So if you add
Yeah.
another layer to it, it's gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
having a dad wallet in my pocket or something.
Yeah.
And is that trade-off worth it? Like, because I could just carry an iPad in a bag or something like that.
Yeah. And is that where the line finally is, I guess, for people like you and who are very tech forward but still just have a line? Because it's funny when you look back to the first iPhone or even the iPhone 5, the 5 was like, oh my gosh, this screen is huge. And that thing is so tiny compared to what a Pro Max is today. And the Pro Max and some of the Samsung phones that you can get, they're just like hilarious when you hold it up for a phone call. So big. And so have we found the peak, or are we just going to keep accepting bigger and bigger phones in our pockets? But also, yeah, how will Apple convince us? Is it made out of special aluminium that
Ooh, aluminium.
Yeah, Johnny Ive makes a return appearance to talk about the design in a video, and then he convinces everyone we have to buy it,
Well, speaking of Johnny Ive had a dream, and that dream was an all glass iPhone. I don't know what our obsession is with transparent tech. You see it all over like Westworld and other
Mhm.
shows like that. Like we have a tablet, and the tablet is just clear glass, and it looks like nothing except the screens on it. I don't know what our obsession with that is. We're gonna figure that out in our lifetime somehow of how to get like just some clean piece of glass to
Yeah.
have a screen on it. I guess it just looks cool. But what we might actually see here is an all glass Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says that this could blur the lines between, or blur the boundaries between screens
Lines and boundaries are
enclosure.
very different, Ryan. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I corrected it. Full glass frame that blurs the boundaries between screen and enclosure. Yeah, this is always very interesting because, like, oh, that sounds awesome. But then again, there's parts you can't get around. There's many parts inside the thing that can't be transparent. And so is it that kind of like vintage tech thing where you can see into
Oh.
it?
Did you have one of those phones?
I did.
That might have been Ryan is much
Oh,
younger
wait.
than me.
No, are you talking like the big, like this big?
So they were like they're like big phones, corded phones, and they had like a very red cable, like a telephone style, like coiled cable, and then they were transparent, and then they would like light up in the dark, and so you could like have this transparent phone that you could see if it's ringing, even if you turn the thing off, because it would like light up a dark room.
Yeah, I don't think I used it, but I think we had one of those at my house, and it was probably like we had it sitting somewhere after it had been out of commission or something. But yeah, that has come back in some ways. I think Apple makes something that's transparent, and then I know Meta just made the transparent Ray-Bans.
Ah, yes.
And there's other transparent tech that's coming back that people are excited about.
It was the whole era. It was the whole era. It was the N64 controller was all transparent. Like everything was transparent. The more transparent you can make something and see into it, the cooler it was.
Yeah. So there's patents around this, an all glass Apple Watch, but I can't really picture exactly what this would be. Maybe it's just that the whole thing is glass all around instead. I think that's kind of what it is. All of this is glass fully
encased in
edge.
glass. So there's not any case or anything. It's all glass, like bezel to bezel. That's sort of what it looks like there. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this thing will never get made ever.
Yeah. It kind of feels that way. I mean, it's probably pretty cool, but at the same time, a lot of the Apple Watch is sporty and like very durable. I know for myself, I unfortunately hit this watch.
I definitely chipped my watch before.
Yeah, on like just walking past a wall. I'm like, shoot. I would have just hit my arm in the past, but now I hit my watch.
Yeah.
And it has a little scratch, even though it's like titanium or not even sapphire or whatever.
Oh, yes.
But so you're probably right. It's probably never coming.
It'd be a cool design. I like Apple trying to do stuff. So I like them trying to do this. I don't think this will actually come to market, even though they have a patent for it. This happens all the time. We've reported on this in the past. Now, I would like my congratulations for this, because I have written this in the past. This is one of the Andrew predictions from the past, that I want to see a Apple Watch with a phone on it, so you can use all the multimodal capabilities of AI.
I think you mean a camera, not a phone, right?
Camera. Did I say a phone?
Yeah,
okay,
you meant
yes.
Camera.
Okay. So many corrections, but it's okay.
But now this is an article. This is official. It could land next year. An Apple Watch reportedly getting built-in cameras. And just as you predicted, it's for AI awareness and capabilities like that.
Do they watch the podcast? Do they just listen to all my ideas? Is that what's happening right now?
I think that could account. We really would have no way of knowing. I mean, if Apple was watching this, it really would just count as a view. So it very
Apple, let us
well.
know if you're watching this in
Yeah,
the
leave a
comments.
comment below.
Tell us you're watching the video.
Yeah, I love thinking that highly that we're getting our ideas stolen from Apple.
Oh
But
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
No, it's just it was a great design choice to make something feel more premium because you already have the Ultra. You want to be able to sell the Ultra for more money, put a camera on it because then you can just use that camera in the real world and go, "Hey Apple, what is this thing?" Well, what turned out happening is it didn't matter because Apple Intelligence didn't come anyways.
Mhm.
So it's not really a problem for today. But still, even having a camera on your watch, instead taking your phone out is super cumbersome. I will tell you this until the cows come home that taking your phone out to have to take a picture like ruins the moment for a lot of things,
Yeah.
and you miss stuff all the time. And so, wouldn't it be easier to just take a picture with your watch really quick? And it doesn't have to be the best quality. It could be the quality of your self-facing camera, or like you just want to show something to someone really quick. You get a text message. They go, "Where are you?" And then you just take a quick picture with your watch and you send it. Like
Mhm.
you could see it before you send it out or whatever. It makes the watch more autonomous that you don't need a phone. It has cellular, it has whatever else in it. You don't have to carry another device with you.
Mhm.
And you could charge an extra $300 for this watch and no one would bat an eye because it's a premium product anyways.
Yeah. I will say these rumors are pointing that it's more of like AI capability, less photography with
Mm,
this camera, which is part of the thing because you would have to have a pretty decent sensor and whatnot to have even just decent photos coming out of that. Because we're used to very good photos from phones, so a certain downgrade
yeah.
is okay, but it can't go too far down. But yeah, the rumors here say cameras may not be for FaceTime calls or photography, but could help the Apple Watch support AI features like visual intelligence, which can provide on the spot information. This essentially would be like what the Meta Ray-Bans can do today. So you have them on and you prompt it and you say, "Where am I? Tell me about this. Tell me about this building." Those features I think can be better. They're not. I've used them like in Europe and stuff, and they're cool, but they're not like amazing. And sometimes it's guessing or it's very broad. It's like that looks like an old building
Yeah.
from this time period. But having those just immediately on your watch instead of having to pull out your phone would be quite cool.
That was the reason I returned the Meta Ray-Bans is because I would try to do those sorts of things. It's just not accurate enough to tell me what's going on with them, or
Hmm.
it's just flat out wrong. And the fact that it doesn't connect with anything I own. This would be the first thing in the Apple ecosystem like this that's not a phone. We do have these things on the iPhone already, but again, they're cumbersome. We also have them on Google, and just no one uses them.
Hmm.
Mostly, I think, because they're not ready for prime time yet, or we'd
Yeah.
be using it all the time.
Hmm. So this also says for the Apple Watch, the rumored plastic version of the SE has reportedly hit some development issues. The design team doesn't like how it looks, and then they're actually having trouble making it any cheaper. So
Yeah, it was going to be the same price. It's like, well, what's the point of using plastic and telling people we downgraded the materials if it's
Mhm.
not going to be cheaper?
yeah, which is, I mean, it's also impressive for their aluminum sourcing and development and how they've worked on that for the current Apple Watch SE. But yeah, looks like we're not getting a cheaper one, but we're getting more expensive ones in a couple ways. Potentially an all glass one in the future, but for now, definitely getting, well, hopefully getting a camera version. Probably once they get AI dialed in a little more.
Yeah. That's been like the worst thing happening this year is I guess they give you the option to use something like a chat GPT, right? Like my action button is the chat GPT voice assistant now, but
Hmm.
it still doesn't feel like natively integrated into anything that you're using.
Yeah.
And I rarely use Siri for anything anymore. I don't even like it maybe playing a song or something like that, but it's still wrong like 25% of the time, you know?
Hmm.
It's like, can you not hear you or are you too far away or,
Yeah, I'm amazed at how wrong it is. How often I use it well on HomePods at home for music, and yes, I have like specific music tastes, but it's so wrong sometimes. It's like, how on earth did you think this specific Frank Sinatra song was like a song by SZA? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I just it's so far off and so wrong. And then what happens all the time is like put heat hey or Siri put heat at 70 and then it's like now playing Heat by 70 or
Oh,
70
weird.
by Heat or whatever stuff
Yeah.
like that, that it's just like, man, it's so and you have to just say it again, or certain prompts
Yeah,
for
find
certain
the way you have to
commands.
say it. Set the temperature in this
Mhm.
room or something. You have to make it really clear.
Yeah, I really hope they fix it though, because I like the Apple ecosystem and they've promised us a lot. So hopefully they will fix it. But in the meantime, we're just still engaging with apps and icons. And the latest icons coming to iOS 19 are rumored to be these round ones. Well, actually, two different styles. We have this one that's just a little more rounded out, and then full circular. This is more in line with the Apple Vision,
Yeah.
and this is just we're not entirely sure which direction it's going to go. I think this report originally came out from Front Page Tech, and they had a whole demo, and then Mark Gurman said that's not actually what it looks like. But he also gave an example of how like we had leaks that were legitimate leaks of like iOS 12 or something, but then by the time it was released, it looked quite different.
Yeah, there's enough time to, if something does get leaked, to just redo the whole thing. They're just icons. You can make these things in a
Mhm.
day, you know?
Yeah, and if they're not tied to it, they can change it for that reason. But yeah, it seems like they might be going for this. And we've heard rumors a lot about them going more to that Apple Vision style of transparent menus and stuff, which I think would be cool. It's a good design. The Apple Vision is beautiful.
Yeah, the Apple
inside of it.
Vision looks great. I have no complaints about Vision OS or anything.
Mhm.
Have you? They added the new gestures or whatever, to
Mhm.
like turn over.
Yeah.
I think those are useful and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like that look of circular icons. I like anything where they upgraded it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think this last, all the customizable features and stuff. I haven't used customizable features at all. Have you? I tried it when it came out, and I'm like, oh, this looks worse than.
No.
And then when I tried it,
I know people that have done it well, but you just have to really spend time.
be into it.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any of my apps after I did it. I was like, oh, I don't know where anything is anymore. I have to change this back.
I'm curious about this. Do you, as viewers, use your apps and click on them where they are, or do you search for them more often?
I will give you my version of this.
I search for them
click-
more often.
I click on everything on my first page,
hmm
and maybe like one that I know where it is off page, and then everything else I search for.
Yeah, because the search the majority of the time is very quick. You type
Yes.
in like the first two letters and you're there. So it's like that was actually faster. But yeah, I'm curious. Is that me and you thing, or is that everybody? Because I would assume it's kind of everybody at this point, which makes the whole home screen and the icons a lot different. Like the purpose of them, it's like not even,
Yeah, you don't need them anymore for anything.
Yeah, we're worried about the design, but are we even using them?
Yeah, you could just make the whole page widgets or something like
Mhm.
that, like useful information to you.
Yeah.
I have one more weird thing that I used this week that was in WWDC last year. So iPhone mirroring. Have you used
Oh, yeah.
iPhone mirroring for anything?
I've used it a few times.
So I used it twice. One was to write a review for something in an app that I didn't feel like pulling out my phone for. That was easy, right?
hmm
This other thing, I was on a cruise ship playing music, and when you buy internet now, it's like a Starlink package, but they only let you put it on one device. So I always in the past just put it on my phone, and if I needed something from the phone, I would like airdrop it to the computer and airdrop it back. And in this case, I didn't have to do that. I would just use the computer phone mirror and then use just the phone mirroring like on my laptop. And so I got to use the just single device that I paid for, but now I have two devices that I can use the internet on and not have to go back and forth between them.
Hmm.
It was freaking awesome. If you guys are at home, steal this, steal this one from me. If you
Yeah.
need two devices, you can use iPhone mirroring, put it on your phone, and then you'll be able to use the internet on your second device as well.
Well, there's one feature that Apple came through with
Yes.
from WWDC
Yes.
24. We'll see what they come through with for WWDC 2025.